Hello, everybody. That, I understand, is the second time we've seen that today. It's nice when you see your work a lot. I'm going to show you some older TED titles. I've been working with TED since '92. And in the beginning, we just started to do some things that was interesting with type, because there were 3 themes, and we wanted to do something that would open the conference, more like a feature film title sequence. So the first one from '92 I did with Kyle Cooper, and then the one Kobe you saw, that was the first one that I was flying solo on. And then it became a whole exploration of what you can do with type, how you can move type around in different dimensions, what the volume type can get, etc., etc. So for TED 5, I just did something with really, really big type, and you can see that it was actually Futura back then, before someone came to the senses and switched to Helvetica. So there was a lot of these things, and every year I was trying to figure out what new I could do to make it interesting. And so there we go. So for TED 6, I had met Muriel Cooper, who had done a lot of information organization and interactive navigation in it. And I also loved the Borg Collective, so I thought that I was going to do a title that was just a lot of information intertwined in a big cube. And I actually constructed in the computer graphics a cube. And in order to make that happen, that was the first year that I introduced the names of the speakers, which you understand when it comes to copywriting and getting all of the names right is kind of a challenge. So for the next year, TED 7, I was wondering if you could use type to create type. And so here you have all the speakers who are conjuring together to form the 3 main themes. And I've cut all of these short because otherwise my 6 minutes would be 18 minutes. So while I was working on TED 7, I actually had started to think about rotating type, revolving them around their own axes, so they would be small objects. I wanted to make an opening that was objects. But I didn't know the software well enough, and it started to orbiting things around like a whole universe. And it created this thing that I knew that this was going to be a very spectacular opening title sequence. However, I had to sit on it because it was not something that could work for TED 7. And this is like one of those things when you have a really great idea, you know you're going to do it, and then just sit on it for a year. It's painful. But here's TED 8. Thank you. So Richard actually used to play these openings at the beginning of every session, and probably a lot of that because I made his name very big in them. So we go way back. Anyway, so what to do more with type? Can you make a whole city out of type? So when the conference came to New York, I did this. That's also cut short, and it's actually quite beautiful, the downtown with the Twin Towers and everything. And then I was rushing up Broadway. I knew I wanted to enter from Brooklyn Bridge because that's what you should do. And then I had to get all the way up to the Sony Theater. So it was a little bit rushed at the end. I did that in 63 hours nonstop, and just before we hit the final rendering, I took one last check on the model, and I had moved the Chrysler Building down to Union Square, so that was another like 3 hours of rebuild before it could actually happen. And then stepping out in actually New York City and seeing that it looks that way was pretty cool. So I'm going to end by showing two full pieces that we've done the last few years, one for TED Global in Edinburgh and one for TED 2010. They have sort of left the typography side and become more about creating some kind of an experience and feeling with them. And now there's huge teams working on them at my office. So there may be 25 hours of work put into every second that we do. And unfortunately, these conferences are packed tightly, so you usually have a chance to see them once or maybe twice. So here's first the TED Global Conference. Thank you, and then I'm going to leave you with TED 2010, and that is so rock and roll, so we should listen to that loud. Thank you very much.